Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. We're here with two legends of the adventure motorcycle world, legends, Brian Shirley Ricks. And Roscoe and I have been so thrilled to bring these guys to you. This is part two of a two-part series. If you haven't watched the first part, maybe look back and have a listen, because it's an extraordinary story that you've got. 68 countries, 170,000 Ks, thereabouts, and everything in between, all the challenges, all the blessings of travel, all mixed up into a wonderful story. So have a listen. But welcome back again, and thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, hosting us in your home and everything. It's just, it's wonderful.
We're in Castlemaine, Victoria.
We have to say it's Castlemaine.
It's Castlemaine.
There is no R in Castlemaine.
There we go.
So does that mean is it Castlemaine Perkins as well?
Well, that's
out here, which is Castlemaine Customs must be.
Probably presumes.
Well, the locals say
Castlemaine 4X. And they used to call it Castlemaine, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Castlemaine.
It's a real thing here if people come and say Castlemaine.
Oh, gee whiz. Where's he from? Yeah, I've been told.
One of our Queensland listeners. There you go. Castlemaine.
Yeah.
And it's Mackay, not Mackay. Did you know that? It's Castle Hill in Townsville.
Right,
there you go. There you go.
It's Castle Hill.
Yeah, no, it's Castle.
In New South Wales.
Oh, in New South Wales?
Sure, it's Castle.
I think we're off track.
Just more me. Let's just forget the whole thing.
Okay. Here we are in Castlemaine, Victoria.
Great. Yeah, the locals went right in.
Yeah.
Get run out of town.
And look, we were sort of winding up when we left last about your amazing journeys. Is there any one standout place that you would love to go back to and ride?
Oh, so many. I love Chile, particularly southern Chile.
Yeah.
Through the beautiful lakes, districts, and places like that. It's just spectacular.
Smoking volcanoes.
Yeah, all that. Norway, sure.
Oh, Norway.
Norway's beautiful.
Oh, good to know. I'm going there.
Make sure you ride the Atlantic Highway.
Yeah, right.
It's not very long.
It's not very long. We went over it about 10 times.
Oh, at least.
Just love it.
If you Google it, is just the most amazing piece of road.
Yes. And riding through the snow caverns.
Yeah. Roscoe, you had a question. You were talking before about, you've gone on this amazing journey and then...
Yeah, returning home back to normality, back to Castlemaine, to come home and sort of fit back into the groove, the normality. And I've always found that you go off and do these wondrous things, and we're really lucky that we all get the chance to do it. And you come back home and you talk to your neighbours or you talk to your friends and go, that's fantastic. So what's been happening here? Nothing. Yeah. And you sort of, I always find it a little bit difficult in those first few weeks just to fit back in. You guys with your huge trees must make a big difference.
Yeah, look, when you've been away for so long, there's things that have happened that there's a gap.
Yeah,
in your knowledge of what actually happened at home, and it's happened to us a couple of times.
Well, if anyone died around 2003, 2004, and it's mentioned, we'll go, well, that must have been while we were away.
Yeah.
Because in those days, we didn't have the access to the Australian newspapers while we were travelling and things.
I also sort of think that you don't look at the newspapers at all when you've got so much input that's coming in through the front of your helmet. Reading a newspaper, you go, does it really matter?
Yeah, I had difficulty when I stopped work, switching off. So 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd be up watching going on. But I eventually got that out of my system. Traffic.
Yeah.
People whinge and complain about the traffic. I laugh. We have no problem with traffic. When you've travelled through Mumbai in peak hour traffic, trying to find a hotel where you actually have to follow someone and then you have to hire a tuk-tuk driver and follow him through the traffic, or Bangkok, or
road
Vietnam.
And that's
it's like the Lonely Planet map. That's
yeah.
So you guys were a lot of your travel non-GPS?
The first
trip was
non-GPS.
It's interesting. Do you think that a rider that sets off today, could have the experience and the experiences that you had, today because they've got GPS.
Oh,
They've got
absolutely, they can.
they can?
Yeah, absolutely.
Have they got to turn their phone off?
No, I mean, just because you don't get lost doesn't mean you have a great time. I mean, it's just.
But I think if you're just following that blue line to go from point A to point B, you're not going to have.
You need to plan and put in your
Yeah,
waypoints so it doesn't just take you
Yeah.
straight up the road.
No.
Mind you, it can always be entertaining. We were going up the Pan American Highway in South America and it would say, in 200 metres, turn left. And you go, I wonder why. And we turn left. And then you go a kilometre and turn right. And we go through a village and then you turn right again. And then you get to the highway and they say, turn left. And there was absolutely no road. But we did have a little detour.
Yeah.
But can I just go back to coming home?
Yes.
Yeah.
There were two things I take from coming home. The first is after about 2 days, no one gives a toss where you've been
Yeah.
or what you've done. And
Yeah.
you've really got to be careful about saying, when we were in,
Yeah.
because all your friends go, oh, here we
Yeah.
go, another
Yeah.
trip. But for me, I suffer really badly from homesickness.
No.
It's just something, I find it some days debilitating.
Yeah.
So when we get home, I'm the happiest person around.
Yeah.
I love coming home.
Yeah.
So while I miss being on the road and, all the adventure and all that sort of stuff, I love my home life. I love my friends. I love my family.
Yeah.
So it's for me.
I should change clothes 3 times.
Of course you can. After
Yes, you
living
can.
out of a pannier, I've been.
And what about how did things change over time? In the first episode, we were talking about how when you got the bike in England, you were discarding things that you'd packed. How did your packing methodologies change over the
I
years?
can post something home from anywhere. Bring my house.
And yeah,
We've posted home carpets. We've posted home clothes, books. We both like having a real map.
yeah,
So you can sit down and go, well, this is where we need to go. We don't want to just go up here and then Brian can program in the GPS.
Yeah.
I'm a
It's
big
a good
fan of
backup too.
guidebooks.
Mm.
I have possibly verging on pathological love of souvenir tea towels.
Yeah.
I have one of the world's greatest collections. I should go to the museum with my tea towels. But when you buy all that stuff, you just post it home. And we have
Catch and kill.
lost nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Everything's fine.
Carpets home from Turkey, carpets home from Pakistan.
Yeah. Wow.
The thing that took the longest was a parcel we sent home from England, and we thought, oh, well, that's obviously gone, but it did turn up eventually.
Yeah.
But when we were travelling, you'd go to the post office and you'd say sea mail, and they'd go, no, you want to go air mail? No, we don't.
See what this? I want this. I'm
Yeah,
Don't worry about it.
So
Yeah.
we don't jettison stuff, we post it.
Yeah, but it'll be packing the bike. If I pack to go away for 4 or 5 days, I'm not taking much more than that than I go for 6 months. Or
correct.
Yeah. It's something you've got, and I've always made the sort of practice, I suppose, of anything I do on my bike. I do it out of any work that I do on my bike. I do it out of my bike toolkit.
Yep. Yep.
So I'm only ever working out of my bike toolkit. I might have a nice wall of stuff there.
you work out what you need to take.
Yeah,
Exactly. If I've got to get something off the wall to do something to the bike, I say, well, it's possibly or a mutation of that's got to go into my
Yes.
carry luggage.
That's exactly right.
So
all right. And with all the travel that you've done, do you take camping gear?
We have.
We didn't take any camping gear on the first trip.
Yeah.
And the second trip, we bought camping gear in America and used it a lot.
You did, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, we did. But traveling through South America, you can get a room
Exactly.
anywhere and it's dirt cheap and you meet people.
Yeah.
Traveling through America, you can go into those beautiful national parks.
Yeah.
And it's well worthwhile having camping gear
Yeah.
at places like that.
Right. The stuff.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
I don't know, some of those roadside motels, the Super 8s and the
You're not
Highway
too
6,
bad.
they're not too bad, and you'll always get an ice machine at the end of the corridor
Yeah.
and a coin laundry.
Yeah.
If you need.
The fan of those.
Yeah.
But, you do 2 or 3 days camping and a night somewhere to clean up and do bits and pieces. You can do it that way.
I also rolled in a Telluride and stayed in a hostel, shared it with 5 other people, and still paid $85 US.
Whoa.
Yeah,
That's
so
expensive.
there's like getting a room was insanely
So
expensive.
there's one of the places that you stayed, you had it was like $75 or $80 and you're staying in a combi van.
I say, yeah, little combi.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Went back somewhere.
stories.
Yeah, no, that's the way we do it.
But the last trip when we went across through Norway and Russia, we took the camping
We did.
kit and we put the tent up
Once.
once in
That's Bruce.
Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, because of one of those places, because the guest house didn't have any rooms, and they said to me, "You two can sleep in the on the veranda with the 48 men." And I said to Brian, "I'm sorry, there comes a time in my life where I ain't going to do that."
Yeah.
So we put she was really unhappy,
Yeah.
but we put our tent up in the garden, and which was fine.
That's
But that was the only time.
The only reason I ask is because it's a lot of gear to carry if you don't use it.
And when you're two up on one bike,
Yeah.
you're very limited in how
Yeah.
much you can. And when we talk to people like the team on Raw and other people we meet, and they talk about wild camping and, oh, isn't it great? And you just think, well, yeah, maybe.
Do you know
Well, I mean, we camp a lot in Australia.
Yeah.
And we camp a lot when we've got the four-wheel drive and, we see some desert, all that sort of, we've done all those things. But when you're travelling, to me, I'm just as happy in a small town in a little place where you just go and find food you eat.
Oh, it's just again that you expose yourself to those small incidental meetings, cultural exchanges where you pick up the little nuggets of
Yeah,
That's
that's
what
right.
people-
And I get it that some people can't afford to travel like that. But, if you can, and well,
But also,
it's still an adventure.
that's right. I think some people diss people like us because, they don't wild camp. But we're having just as much of an adventure as the people who wild camp. It's like people say to us, Route 40 now in South America, it's sealed. But it's still got a crosswind that could take a small building. We saw one with a truck knocked over from the window. So it's still a challenge.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't have to be uncomfortable.
It's no less of experience, no less of adventure in a car than on a bike. Now, a bike's obviously our great sort of passion, and you get all of the sensory overload. But still, it's just how you travel.
Well, we travelled through Alaska up to the top to Prudhoe Bay. Prudhoe.
No. Sounds pretty.
Well, I don't know. We could be having it wrong. So. But there was what you need, John. So it's 3 or 4 bikes, and a couple in a 4-wheel drive. And they were a godsend because they carried the grog. They carried, they did great. It's the only time we've got really good video and photos of us actually riding on the bike because they would take photos as it went fast.
Our friend Dave had when you ride in Alaska, particularly on permafrost, it's like riding on jelly. Things are smoothing. And, you get used to it. And, we scoot along 100, 110 Ks.
Yeah.
And Dave was scooting past us like we're standing still.
Yeah.
And he pulls up at the Arctic Circle, which we were going up the camp there.
Yep.
And he's holding the strap of his tent. The rest of the tent had swung off the bike, swung over the exhaust pipe and gone. So he didn't have a tent.
We were above the Arctic Circle. It was a bit brisk. He survived.
Well, I carry a bike cover.
Yeah.
Because when you put the bike cover over the bike, it becomes invisible in a lot of places.
Yes.
So we gave him the bike cover, and up there is a really mossy ground, and it's like
heaven.
it's heaven. It's about that thick. It's like a mattress.
Yeah.
So he wandered off to sleep, wrapped up in our bike cover.
Nice.
Talking about things that you're carrying, things that you don't carry. Never leave home without one particular piece of kit. What's your kit? What's the magic?
Go, face up what lives in my pannier.
No, didn't use it. Look, tyre repair, some things to get you moving.
Yeah.
You've got an oil leak, bad luck, you top it up.
Yeah.
But the things that will stop you is a flat tyre.
Yep.
We've got to be able to fix that. So, I would suggest nowadays tyre repair kit is essential. If you've got a modern day bike now.
Tubes or tubeless for you?
I carry both. Tubeless tyres on the GS.
Yes.
But carry tubes.
Yeah. As
As a backup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But never used them. You can have to cloaked.
Mate.
You can get away with that.
Yeah.
With modern day bikes, something to reduce your battery up.
Yep.
Because if a battery goes, even on my old 1200 GSA,
Yep.
it just dies. It doesn't give you any warning. It just goes.
Yeah.
With modern day bikes, with all their electronics and all that gizmo that they carry, they will do the same. They'll just die.
Yeah.
So you've got to have some way of getting the bike to start.
Yeah, I think that I think the thing that where I came unstuck on the KLR is I will throw in a spare ECU, like a small, black box for the bike, because if that goes, a carburetor you can fix, you can generally fix most systems, but if your black box goes, you're a long way from home.
Yeah, look, and that's true, but we had a shock absorber mount snap on us, and okay, can't carry a spare shock absorber.
No.
But you can get stuff shipped in.
Yeah. I think it's very different these days than it was 10 or 15 years ago, because now you can get anything delivered within 3 or 4 days, FedEx and DHL, all that sort of stuff. It's a very different scene. And there's also...
I disagree with that. I'm doing a bike build at the moment and I'm still waiting for parts.
But if we were in the middle of nowhere, you would have paid express. So.
Yep. Yeah, maybe. But but the problem is...
an old bike or
it's an old bike.
It's a bike.
Yeah.
But the getting the shock absorber, the problem was crossing the border from US into Canada, going through the customs and all the checks and things like that.
Because it was a couple of weeks you waited, wasn't it?
12 days since it was British Columbia. People would come to the motel we were staying in, and I could tell them where the bank was, where the supermarket was, because we were locals.
The local prostitute. Yes, yes.
Oh, dear. What about you, Cheryl? Is there anything you wouldn't leave home?
Well, I never go without a peakless clothesline. There's a girl. But a friend of ours who worked on Melbourne radio was planning a trip driving the route we did, but in a car with his son. And he asked me to come on, and it was virtually a research radio program for you. You have travellers on, and we talked about what sort of things to look at everything. And I told him it was my favourite piece of kit. So when he was ready to leave, I posted him one as a gift, and he rang me and he said, "Cheryl, thank you so much for the peakless clothesline. Now I have 2. It was, how do you know? Well, when you said it was the best thing to take, I had to buy one."
Yeah.
There you go.
What is a pegless clothes?
Oh, it's twisted wire.
Twisted elastic.
Plastic, and so you put like a
Bit of
sock in it that holds it up. You just got to be a bit careful. We did pull, maybe we didn't pull lights out of the wall.
Careful with those.
And you also have to watch where you hang it up at night, because if you get up to go to the loo in the middle of the night, you could hang.
You're right yourself.
Fantastic. Was it sort of some of the other things that, we're having a yarn on the way up with the everybody travelling with their iPhones and that now, and people are talking about sort of being in a hostel and walking to hostel sort of common room and everybody sitting there on their phone. We were saying that you really have to pursue engagement.
Yeah.
And that's where we go back to the little nuggets of gold here, there, and everywhere. That's a real shame. But
it is a shame. When we were travelling the first time, we had 3 books. One he was reading, one I was reading, and the guide book. And we would swap our books.
Yeah.
And you'd get to a guest house or a hostel, and you would swap, or you'd pass people on the road and you would swap books. And we read things I would never have read if we were at home.
Yeah.
But I'm an old-fashioned girl. I like reading a real book where you turn pages. And that's...
We did try a reader, didn't we?
Little guidebooks when you've got one that you can't turn the corner over to remind you which page.
Well, yeah, that's right.
But you're right, we swap books in a lot of places. And I'd love to see the art of conversation come back.
Yeah.
Put your phones down.
Yeah. And have a yarn.
Yeah.
It's a universal problem. It doesn't matter whether you're sitting on a train or a bus or you're walking into a hostel. Everyone seems to be looking right. Or go to a restaurant.
Oh,
You see 5 people sitting at a table and all of them are looking at their phone.
Yeah, so you've got to have a takeaway.
I know.
yeah.
So why are you going to meet your friends so you can watch them be on phone?
But all right. But having said that, I know that in my travels, I will just go up to a table and say, "Do you mind if I sit here?" So I just immerse myself, and sometimes the phones go down, and then away you go.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's about taking a first step to it.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. It does. Sometimes it takes courage to be the one that breaks the ice.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
once you do, I mean,
It's worth
Dave, who we were talking about, who lost his tent, we met him in Smithers, British Columbia,
Waiting
when
for
we
a
had broken
shot.
down, and we met up with him again in British Columbia. We rode to Alaska and back with him, and when we kept in contact. And when we were going to Russia, we sent him a message saying we were going to go through Norway, and he said, "Oh, I've got a bike in Germany. What day are you going to be there?" And we told him, said, "I'll see you there."
See,
And we went to Nordcat together, and it was just lovely. And then we went to Finland, and he went to Estonia, and we went to Russia.
Yeah.
It was just great.
So I often reflect on when you do meet somebody and you've kind of struck up a friendship that might last or might. I often think if I had not have gone up and said something, I'd never get to know that person. So
That's also one of the hard things of travel I found is saying goodbye to people.
yeah, that's true. But motorcycling is very different. You see a motorbike, a travel bike, 9 times out of 10 you will stop and engage.
correct.
We met Bert and Heidi like that. We were about to cross into. We were about to cross into a row. Well, we were in a row. I can't quite remember now. But we just saw their KTMs.
Yeah.
So we stopped.
Great guys.
And to this day, I'm going back, that's 2003. We're still great friends. We've been and stayed with them in Germany. They've stayed with us here in Australia, based themselves here and travelled. And we're old enough to be their parents.
Yeah.
They're just lovely, lovely people.
Yeah. I think that the whole adventure bike community is a wonderful sort of place, and with that, and we sort of, I suppose, we're coming close to defining it. It's sort of between 40 and 65, retired or own their own business, have time, have a little bit of dough, and so there is that commonality. And I think that the gathering point for that is really important. And I think Facebook is, in some regards, that gathering point where you can go and do Adventure Riders Mexico, Adventure Riders Norway, into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And we're trying to foster that with the podcast that we've got, where we're sort of saying, okay, if you're coming to Australia from any other port, come onto our website and ask the question about where do I go riding in Perth, where do I go riding in Darwin. We'll certainly try and put you in contact with our followers and give you a point of contact. That it might just be a beer, but it might be a beer, a bed, and a workshop, and that sort of stuff. If we can get that, I know we romantically talk about the campfire around which the Australian adventure riders sit, and it'd be wonderful to think that when we get to full noise on the podcast and the opportunity that we're trying to present, it'd be great to think that we do become that clearing house for people coming into Australia, but even people from Perth coming to Brisbane or coming here and say, where do you go riding or it's just great to have that community.
One thing we did find on the first trip though, and we were just shy of 50 when we did our first trip, we were by far the oldest people.
Is that right?
It's true.
Wow.
So lots and lots of young
people.
Particularly young Germans, Israelis,
Dutch area.
Dutch travellers, and Japanese, people like that. They think nothing.
Yeah, they're always on Australia.
Where's that guy? Where did he come from? We met in Nepal on his push boy.
Oh, Romania.
Oh,
And he was, we don't know what ever happened to him. He was crossing into China on a push bike without a visa.
we crossed borders all the way across without visas.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we followed him on Facebook or somewhere for a while,
Wow.
and then all of a sudden he just disappeared, so we don't know.
Yeah.
Guys, it's been great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to Castlemaine.
Castlemaine, brilliant. I mean this. It's been a real pleasure meeting you both, and we've thoroughly enjoyed this chat.
Good time.
I'm sure we'll finish this up, and I'll think, there's 100 other things we could have asked, but never say never. We might revisit and
Sure.
do another one.
Yeah.
Ladies and gents, I hope you've really enjoyed the podcast, and if you have, or you've followed along on YouTube, Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe. If you listen on a podcast, hit follow so you don't miss anything. And follow us on our socials on Instagram and Facebook. We'll put some teasers up so you can see what episodes are coming up. Until next time, stay safe, and we'll see you at the next episode.
So on behalf
Thank
of
you.
Australian Adventure Riders Podcast, thank you very, very much. And,
Appreciate
we really look forward to seeing you up in Queensland or somewhere on the road.
Love meeting fellow travellers.
Yes,
Thanks,
yeah.
mate. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.